Welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. My name is Jerry Snyder. As a health, wellness, and sports performance coach, my goal each week is to bring you experts to help you take control of your health and build your self-confidence. Thanks for including me today on your journey to better health. I'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, All In Health and Wellness. If you're looking for a health coach, you're looking for a sports performance coach, you're looking for nutrition guidance, like for instance, a meal by meal plan that will help you understand how to eat. It will teach you how to eat, and it will give your body, your cells, the proper nutrition to feel great and be able to perform at your best, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally. If you're looking for those things, you're looking for the key to improve your sports performance, both from a nutrition standpoint and an exercise physical standpoint and a mental standpoint as you approach your athletic event. All In Health and Wellness is able to help in these areas. Go to allinhealthandwellness.com and you'll find the contact information for how to get in touch with them and get started on the plan that will improve your life. So Erin, I want to thank you for being a guest on the Confidence Through Health podcast.
Absolutely. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. And I'm excited because we got connected by a mutual friend, and it's somebody who I've helped out on their health journey. I've helped his wife on his health journey. And, so when he says, hey, I met somebody and you need to talk to them because they've got great insight. I trust his insight because he knows what we're trying to get accomplished with this podcast and with helping people both take care of their health, but also their life in ways that maybe seem like they're not possible anymore. Right? Because everybody sees like social media and all this stuff and like what we assume we're supposed to be like, but that's not really what we want.
No, not at all. I think it's just learning to embrace every day and enjoy your journey as you go, instead of getting lost in the chaos, which social media can certainly provide.
Yeah. And so what, like when you're talking to someone or helping somebody who's coming to you with those types of like, I just don't know where to begin. Like, I know that my life is not as healthy as I want it to be, or it's not as focused as I want it to be. Like, is there a simple like way to just stop and reset?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's identifying where specifically are the core problems: physical, mental, emotional, spiritually, what financially, what is causing the pain, identifying where that is. And then from there, kind of diving deeper into what are some simple goals that we can set. I think a lot of times, we know where we want to go, but it's the path of getting there, and the small incremental achievements should be rewarded along the way. So, for instance, if somebody wanted to lose weight, 20 pounds, let's start small, right? Let's focus on what are some changes we could do in our diet. Simple changes. Let's get rid of the soda, drink more water. There are small lifestyle changes that can make a significant difference long term, not just in the short term, and then be sustainable over time, that improve the quality of your life.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm gonna hit on that sustainable piece because I know that's something that a lot of people they start something, especially if it's a behavior change with the lifestyle, and it's like, there's no way I can continue this, or, it's counting oh my gosh, I've done this for 3 days. This is taking forever type of mentality versus, okay, no, you did it today. That's great.
It is great. Like, celebrate that.
Yeah.
Reward yourself for that. I have a son. He was diagnosed with ADHD, and we really worked on that mindset of let's celebrate the wins today. Let's, what went well? What were the blessings? What did you accomplish? And let's celebrate that, as simple as having an ice cream, or applauding, those achievements. It doesn't have to be something that you wait for. You can do it every day.
Right. Well, and I think that's important because there's so much of life that we get stuck in a rut. We get stuck in a routine that maybe not a good routine, but maybe even sometimes it's something that we're so set on. oh, I have to do these things and I have to do these things. And it's, if I don't, I'm not perfect and I can't move forward. And sometimes it's just a matter of like, hey, you got 80% done. That's great.
It is great. And then to reframe, tomorrow you can
Right.
start again. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that this day is lost or any of the work that you put in or, is gone.
Mhm.
Actually, it was a step in the right direction. And
Yeah.
tomorrow you can build upon that. It's not,
Right.
and nothing is a loss.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more permanent than change in your life, in your lifetime, right?
Yeah. That's
And
true.
I think it's being adaptable and fluid to that concept that
Yeah.
maybe, and something that worked for you 5 years ago isn't working today, and that's okay. It's
Yeah.
being willing to adapt to that and then, move forward with the foundation that you're trying to build.
Right.
And to celebrate again. I don't think we do that enough. And, there's simple pleasures in every day that you can do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you can do those and you can celebrate in a healthy way, right? It doesn't
Absolutely.
in a healthy way that also like, for lack of a better way of putting it, but like hits your dopamine circuits, right? Like
Yes.
it doesn't
Yes.
have to be celebration doesn't have to be, okay, well, I'm going to have a big slice of cake every night for dessert because I did something right, because that's going to sabotage other pieces of the health journey.
Exactly. It can be, you know what, I'm going to watch an episode of my favorite show. It can
Right.
be, I'm going to watch the sunset. I'm going to go on a 10-minute walk. There's different ways that you can reward yourself that feel good,
Yeah.
that aren't overwhelming in your day to day life. And
Right.
it's learning to implement those along the way
Yeah.
that brings the greatest change.
Yeah. So how important would you say it is to like to wake up with the proper mindset, like to frame that from the beginning of the day? Is that
It's everything. It's
yeah.
everything. I'm big into DBT. And
Mhm.
so, in other words, just because you wake up late, we've all been there, right? The
Yeah.
alarm didn't go off or something happened and now we're running late and the whole day just seems to be hijacked after
Yeah.
the simple thing that happened in the morning. And truth of the matter is that you can always do some deep breathing exercises. You can always recalibrate and get grounded again.
Right.
And even though that happened, you can still have a great day.
Sure.
And so it's learning to be able to train your mindset that despite the setbacks and waking up late, for instance, right? You can still have a great day for the rest of the day. It doesn't ruin whatever
Right.
is before you. And so you can restart at
Mhm.
anytime in the day, anytime, something that didn't go well, you can always, learn from that, reflect. I
Yeah.
use reflection as a huge skill. And it certainly is in social work. And I always encourage people, listen, if you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, let's reflect.
Yeah.
What could we do differently moving forward? Right. It's about building upon,
Right.
not tearing down, not tearing yourself down or, what you're trying to accomplish. So
Yeah.
you can reset and reflect at any point.
Yeah. Well, and that's very similar to one of the things I tell when somebody doesn't hit a goal for
Yes.
whatever reason, it's like, okay, what was the obstacle? Right?
Yes.
Because it can be an external obstacle or it could be you, right? It could be
That's
like,
right.
no, whether it's, I chose to hit my snooze, or,
Yes.
I chose to watch an extra episode because, Netflix was streaming. I knew I should get up, but I sat there and watched it. And so I didn't get this other thing done that I wanted. And, we tend to go down a negative path there of,
Yes.
okay, I stink, I'm a loser, I'm not capable, all these things, when it's like, no, there was an obstacle, whether it was external, like I was late for something because there was a wreck and I got stuck in traffic for 30 minutes extra. And so it threw everything off. That's not your fault,
Not in
right?
the
It's
not in the
obstacles,
least.
right?
Exactly.
It's like, how do we handle the obstacles and then reset, like you said, and then become like, okay, well, I'm starting over from right now. It doesn't have to be, the next morning, or that it can be any point of the day. I'm starting over right now.
You got it. It's an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah.
And when people start to utilize that, it's a skill. It's just
Mhm.
like anything else when you were learning to walk, right? And,
Yeah.
shooting a basketball, track, whatever these things are, you can always reset and
Yeah.
start again. It's
Yeah.
nothing is, gone.
Yeah.
So, you know, I, mindset is everything. And when people start to really train themselves to understand how they talk to themselves, how they talk about others, the words that they use. It will empower you to continue to move forward. And if you're calling yourself a loser, or if you're tearing yourself down, what is the motivation that's going to encourage you to keep going?
Right.
There isn't one, right?
Yeah.
And so how you talk to yourself, how you frame things is so vitally important, and it really sets the stage for your success.
Yeah. Well, and the one of the examples you use there, I love it because I see this every so often from somebody who's, in the coaching space and is
Yes.
like, okay, you failed, you didn't get what you wanted.
Yes.
But like when you see a baby learning to walk or a toddler learning to walk, like they fall down, they don't stay down. They
Not
try
a bit.
again, right?
And they don't, they may get a little bit frustrated, but they pop right back up and they start
Right.
again,
Yeah.
and really that's what we should do as well, right?
Right.
In our everyday, whatever we're trying to achieve, whether it's work or, personal accomplishments, we can always continue again.
Yeah.
And so the choice to stay down, what I say is often when I was working with patients, are you getting in your own way? It seems to me like you are in your own way right now.
Yeah.
There's nothing preventing you from moving forward or
Right.
working towards these things except your own mindset, your own self, right? And so a lot of times when that gets addressed and they start making those small movements or pivots towards goals, their confidence rise, their self-esteem rise. They start to feel better about themselves and others around them. And so, simple changes can make significant impact.
Oh yeah. Well, and the other piece of that too is to remove that perfectionism mindset, right?
Oh,
Like, because that's definitely a mindset a lot of people have, and I've been in spots in my life when that was part of life, and it's like, oh, it's
sure.
not. And then when you realize in practice the fact of like, it's not going to be perfect, just move on.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden it like becomes easier and easier to do that because it is practice and it takes time to like go through those steps. But then once you do that, it's like, oh wow, like very few things in the world have to be perfect to be able to like,
I don't know
have
anything that
success.
is
Like
perfect.
it's
I'm
like,
going to be totally
yeah,
honest
like
with
it's
you.
like, and this just hit me, but now that you're talking about basketball, like the ball goes through the hoop and the hoop's bigger than like it doesn't have to be a perfect shot to go through. It can
Not a bit.
rattle around and it can be off a little bit but still go through. And so it's like getting rid of that mindset and just being to the like, okay, I'm moving myself forward. I'm going to have
Yes.
some backwards, but as long as my trajectory is still going forward, I should be okay.
Yes. And don't focus so much on the reflection pieces. What could I have done differently? Right. Moving forward. But we're not going to stay there. We're not making a home there. We're not, building a house there. We're reflecting back there. And then we're going to figure out moving forward if I'm going to get in my own way again, my mindset, right? The choices that I'm making, the piece of chocolate cake, not doing what is in my best interest. What is the choice that I can make differently? How can I motivate myself to make that different moving forward? And so the past is not, I always call that the swampland of the soul. I think it's important to kind of, trudge through it a little bit and understand it. But that is no place that anybody really wants to be because our future is ahead of us. And what's most important is what we're doing today. Today. No matter what's happened behind us, right? The clock doesn't move backwards. We shouldn't either.
Yeah. Well, and that's very true because like you shouldn't, and that's what I've got 2 teens. And so trying to teach them like, okay, the past is the past. You have to let it go, but you have to remember to, learn from it.
Yes.
Right. Because we don't learn from our past. We're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And
you got it.
My 14-year-old son is sort of in that. I'm like, you've got to learn from these things. Right.
That's right.
We have this discussion. You messed up. You did it the next day. You did the same thing. Okay. We got to learn from the past to move forward. Right. But we can't just live in the past. Yeah. Like you said, that doesn't work.
And really, that's the highest form of intelligence when you can learn from something from before, right? And it's recognizing, listen, we're in this stuck, cyclical, repeated, whatever toxic cycle or
Yeah.
whatever's going on here, right? And the goal is to break out of that,
Right.
not to stay in it.
Yeah.
And so, that's has to do with our choices. And if we had a failed relationship, there's nothing that is you don't need to dwell on that. There was a
Mhm.
lesson there, right?
Right.
And moving forward, what will you do differently? And what are the choices in the people that you surround yourself with, that you spend
Right.
your most time with, are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so nothing, it's to learn from, not
Yeah.
to continue.
Right. Yep. No, and that's like it there's so many spots in my life where I can see that like the reflection back over, 5-year increments to decades, whatever it is,
Yes.
and you can go like, oh, this piece that I went through that was really tough or really difficult or whatever, it set me up to be successful now because I learned how to handle that situation. I didn't stay in it and fester in it. I
No.
fought my way through it. And
Yes.
now it's like, oh, because these bigger obstacles are coming, but now I'm strong enough to be able to figure out, like, oh, wait, yeah, here's the steps. Beep, 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 boop, done.
You got it. And
Yeah.
so, it's building upon your previous success. And
Yeah.
so, it's really reframing that too, right? A
Yeah.
failed relationship. Actually, you had this relationship that you thought was going to be wonderful and it didn't work out, but that was a success because you learned something from it. And so
Right.
now you're going to build upon that for the next one to be more successful.
Yeah.
So again, it's how you talk to yourself, how you see those things, and then how you move forward with that information.
Right.
That's going to make all the difference for you.
Yeah. And these are massive, massive transformational pieces of
Yes.
having a solid, healthy emotional health, mental health, right? Like
Yes.
being able to make these steps. And because to say that, oh, I'm going to live a life where I'm never sad is like not possible, right? Like
It's
just,
not. No.
right. It's a matter of like, okay, sad things are going to happen. How do I navigate them?
Yes. And whether we like to or not. And really, quite frankly, I am hard pressed to find anybody that hasn't experienced some sort of trauma,
Sure.
right? Whether
Yep.
it was within their own, but 9/11 is a perfect
Mhm.
example. I mean, the world happens, things
Right.
happen in this world,
Yeah.
and we're going to have to learn to overcome and be resilient in spite of these setbacks. And
Yeah.
so, um, it doesn't define you. You don't
Mhm.
have to allow that to define you. That's a mindset issue if you
Yeah.
do allow that to happen. Really, it's something that happened, and then you're building upon your resilience and overcoming those obstacles to achieve whatever it is to the next level that you're trying to get
Right.
to.
Right.
Whether it's 10 pounds or, whatever, I'm going to break this record, this world
Yeah.
record. You can do it. You can
Yeah.
do it. You can do anything you put your mind to.
Right.
I truly believe that of
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
And so, but it's how you're spending that mental energy or even that physical energy. And life is all about energy and
Yeah.
where you're flowing, where you're
Right.
putting it towards. And if you're going to put it into negative things, the output
Yeah.
is going to be negative.
Right. Yep.
And
Go ahead.
the same applies when, you're putting it towards positive. You're going to
Yeah.
have positive outcomes. And
Yeah.
so where are you spending your time and energy and
Yeah.
how are you spending it? And then
Right.
at the end of it, that's going to be your reward,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
outcome, that output. So
Yeah.
it's vitally important to invest in yourself, invest in the things that are healthy, bringing you joy. Sadness exists, right?
Right.
But I don't think that we should dwell in that. It's overcoming and being able to continue moving forward.
Right. Well, and I think that, we've all been in this situation where, or at least the more you go and live, the more you're in these situations where
Yes.
you're in a group of people and you meet somebody and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're happy, they're energetic, they're da da, right? Not social media because that's different. It's
Right.
meeting somebody in person. You're seeing their energy, you're feeling it, and you're just like, oh my gosh, this person, like I, for whatever reason, like I need to be around this person or they need to be in my circle or whatever.
Yes.
Like those are the people that we need around us because when we have those difficult situations, those are people we can lean on, right?
Yes.
Because if somebody is living that life, they've figured those pieces out.
Yes.
right?
I call that the winner's circle. I want to
Yeah,
be a part of the winner's circle, right?
right.
And it doesn't mean that they've always succeeded or that they're
Sure.
rich or that, they have all
Yep.
the answers or anything along those lines. It's really that they can pour into you, they can guide you, they can, provide you in
Mhm.
those moments of maybe, we're all going to, is this the right direction? Am I
Right.
doing the right things? Or
Yeah.
why isn't this working the way that I think it should be? And your winner circle is going to guide you in that. They're going
Yeah.
to put their energy into that to help you overcome or
Right.
maybe see how you're in your own way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's great too because while they may not be in the same industry or space
No,
or same goals that you have, just being around people that are like, oh, but it's possible,
yes.
right?
If
I
they
think
can
is
see that,
huge.
it
Yeah.
is huge, and so in other words, they can also see and strive for things that don't exist yet.
Right.
And so, that's the creative process of living
Yeah.
is creating,
Yeah.
creating, achieving, trying to get somewhere that maybe isn't necessarily existent yet. It's
Yeah.
not existent in your reality. And they can see that it can happen. And
Yeah.
so, they're invested in your investment,
Right.
whether they are in, your industry or not, they
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. So that's skirting around the sort of the topic of manifestation, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I fully believe in that now. Like there were times
Yes.
in my life where I was like, okay, but even looking back though, there are times where I did it. I totally manifested things to happen because I just said, no, this is something I want. It's going to happen,
It's
right?
going to happen.
And it's in doing it in a way that obviously doesn't trample anybody or doesn't cause any
No.
just you can do things and see them in, but it takes that focus and it takes that positive energy.
Yes.
If you
And it
dwell
takes
on it can't,
energy.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does take energy, totally.
And you have to have that. And
Yeah,
so the way that you have that is in, starting positive and being
yep,
positive and how you talk to yourself, all these things that we've been talking about.
yeah,
And so, but nothing is more about life than creation.
mhm,
And nothing stays still and it's always
yeah,
constant. And so learning to manifest is all about pouring your energy into the right things and then
mhm,
seeing something and working towards that and bringing it into your reality.
yeah,
Even though it doesn't exist yet, it can happen and it will.
right. And that's for everything, but it's definitely a possibility for health. And I think that's one of the things that
Yes.
when people, we've all heard the situations where somebody gets diagnosed with cancer or some other,
Yes.
chronic disease or health issue, and then, whether it's 2 months later or whatever it is, when they go back for a checkup and the doctor's like, I don't know what happened. It's gone. Like, oh,
Yes.
and but then the person's like, well, yeah, I wasn't going to fall to that. I wasn't going to go out with that. I was going to beat it. I knew that. I manifested health, and yeah, sure. Did they probably change their diet? Did they probably start doing some things better?
Yes.
Yes. But it's also I fully believe what you tell your cells internally
All the time.
totally shows up. Totally
It
shows up.
does. It will manifest in your physical,
Mhm.
whether it's your body, your environment, your mentality. It will manifest. What you put your energy towards and what you focus on will manifest one way or another. So
Yeah.
in your health, and oftentimes it's no secret, people go to the doctor and the first things that they usually, suggest that you change is your diet,
Yeah.
your movement
Mhm.
is life. And
Mhm.
so if you're not, we weren't created to sit all the time.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what we do. We
Yeah.
sit at work, we sit at home, we do a lot of sitting, and that's
Yeah.
not creating.
Yeah.
That's actually just existing,
Right.
right? And so movement is life. They're going to suggest that you move. They're going to suggest that you change your diet. They're going to suggest. And when people hear that, I think that they also think, I have to do this all at once. And so I'm going to run 2 miles and I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to throw out everything that I,
Right.
shouldn't eat. And really those aren't small incremental changes. Those are
Mhm.
unsustainable changes,
Right.
right? And so you're really working on small goals to get there. This isn't an overnight thing.
Right.
You didn't get here overnight. And this
Mhm.
isn't going to change overnight, but you can
Yeah.
work towards it so that it's rewarding along the way and it feels good.
Yeah.
It doesn't stress you out
Right.
and bring you a lot of, pain, more
Mhm.
suffering, because that's what
Yeah.
you're saying. I'm suffering here.
Right.
And so we're not going to focus on the suffering. It exists.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on the creation and the new and the healthiness of what
Yes.
this is bringing into your life.
Right. Well, and it because it's totally you're creating the next
Yes.
parts of your life.
Yes.
And
Always.
we're always doing that. So whether it's creating it in a negative way or in a positive way, we're always creating the next parts of our life, even when we don't think about it because we're sitting. But
Yes.
we're not doing anything, but we're actually doing something because we're heading the wrong direction with no movement and all of that.
You got it. And
Yeah,
so, it's about moving forward, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, moving forward. And I think what really brought that to the forefront for me was COVID when the
mhm,
pandemic hit. And I was a provider in the emergency department during that time. And there was a lot of loss. There was
yeah,
a lot of grief,
yeah,
right? It was a really trying time. And so I was sort of the lifeline because people couldn't come. Everybody was about social isolation, right?
sure,
Stay
yep,
away. And you couldn't
mhm,
come and see people at the hospital when they were in the hospital.
yeah,
And I would call them and let them know that their loved one passed away or whatever those circumstances was. We were working through those.
yeah,
And even though, they would say, well, I just don't understand why this happened. And I said, well, there will never be an answer that will justify that enough for you, for any of us, when
yeah,
something bad happens in our
mhm,
life, right?
yeah,
And so people often get stuck on or sit still on why.
mhm,
Why did this happen? And really, like, what's next? What are we going to, how are we going to honor them? How are you
right,
going to, bring that into your daily world? Because they still exist. They're just
yeah,
not physically here. Right.
right,
And so,
right,
again, that's a lot of mindset, but that was a lot that brought that to the forefront for me on not getting stuck in suffering,
mhm,
because that is only going to bring more suffering.
right.
And
Well,
that's
that's
not what you want to call forward in your life.
right, right. Well, so and I have no idea why this is what recalled when you're talking about all that, but um, my grandfather passed away in 2009, and he's on the Mount Rushmore of like influencers in my life, like just like
Yes.
he's probably at the top of the Mount Rushmore. Um, and I remember when he would when they call, he's like, okay, he's in the assisted living, but it's going downhill. It's
Yes.
like you need to come see him before it gets to be like he's not going to recognize anybody and all of that. And and he was in his 80s, like in mid 80s, like lived
Sure.
a long life. But I'll never forget, like, and everybody left the room, and it was just me and him, and he's sitting in his recliner, and we talked a little bit, and then he got really quiet, and they said, that's happening. He's just zoning out,
Yes.
if you will. And so I was sitting there and just enjoying the like peace with him, and there was a moment where I was thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, this sucks because he's going to pass away, and I don't have kids yet, and I want
Yes.
my kids to meet this man." Like that's
Yes.
what I'm thinking in my head as we're sitting there. And he turned and looked at me, and it wasn't even like I looked at him, it wasn't his face. I'm
Right.
telling you, it was great. It was God looking at me going, calm down, it's all right. He's gonna
Yes.
pass, you're gonna be fine.
Yes.
And I was just like, okay, I think I'm all right.
And they
And
do know him
yeah,
because they know you.
exactly. And I walked out of the room and of course, like fell to the ground and just sobbed. And
Sure.
my wife, came over and said, hello, tried to calm me down, everything. And that was the last time I ever saw him alive, was that
Yes.
moment. And
Yes.
and that was in the summer of 2009. And my daughter, we adopted my daughter. She was born in October of 2009.
Yes.
And the great thing about it is, as many times as I've thought, like, oh, it'd be great for him to, there's never been a like, I'm so depressed they didn't get to meet or any of that. It's like, no, that's the way it was supposed to happen. It's okay.
Exactly.
I lost a very loved one and I got a very loved one all within a couple of months. It couldn't have been more perfect.
And
You
that's
know?
usually how life works. When something
Right.
is taken away, it's replaced with something else, right? The
Yeah.
birth of the
Right.
creation of, the giving of something else. So
Yeah.
that void isn't meant to last and
Right.
stay existent in your life. A lot of people get stuck in that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't move on from this because of this loss, or,
Mhm.
and I'm like, but that's you in your own way. And if
Right.
you open yourself up to what the universe has in store for you, right? The
Yeah.
gifts
Yeah.
of what is to come, you will find joy again and
Right.
happiness and those things. And so, yeah, oftentimes people close the door and then they don't reopen it
Right.
because they don't want to suffer anymore. They don't want
Yep.
that pain, but
Yep.
they're actually recreating that on a daily basis in their
Mhm.
lives.
Yeah. No, I
And
fully
so,
agree that if you in it, I see it all the time in the health world, like helping people get
yes,
healthier, because they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this could be an option. And I'm like, yeah, because you were stuck and
that's
you
right.
wouldn't allow those new things to come into your life.
That's right.
And like you said earlier, that like movement doesn't have to be go for a 2 mile run. There's so
No.
many different ways.
Right. It can be calling a friend, right?
Yeah.
It could mean meeting somebody new. It could
Hmm.
try, so but it's movement. That's the
Yep.
key of it. It's a
Yeah.
moving on, a forwardness,
Right.
and not sitting still, standing still. And
Yeah.
whatever this is that is not bringing you your satisfaction, the quality of life that you're striving for your
Yeah.
health, or your relationships, whatever those things are. Open the door, see what
Yeah.
else is out there, because there's a universe waiting for you,
Right.
full
No,
of
there totally is.
invitation.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
but you have to be willing, and if you're
Yep.
not willing, it's not going to just fall into your lap. That's not how
Right.
it works either.
Yep. Yep. Well, and so one of the things that you put in, as we were conversing by email before we set this up, one of the things you put in there, I highlighted, and I wanted you to sort of dig into this a little bit. But you,
Yes,
because it's something that I actually like 100% believe as well. But you put health is wealth.
it is.
And when I read that, I was like, okay, I mean, it's so true because health in in my mind, health should be the new status symbol. Like,
Yes,
can you make it to 50 without being on any long-term medication? Can you make it to 60
exactly.
without like, that's like more to me more than like a BMW in the driveway or, the biggest house on the block.
Yeah.
Like that's like, no, here's the deal. I'm healthy,
You got it. And
right?
I think when you're younger, at least I'll speak for myself, you have nothing but time. It's sort of like
Right.
I mean, it's just like endless amounts, copious amounts of time
Yep.
that you can
Yep.
spend in whatever way. And the older we get, that's one of your most precious resources, right?
Mhm.
And how you're spending it and what
Yeah.
investments you're making with that time.
Yeah.
And one of those things definitely should be your health. And when you're younger too, you can get caught in things,
Sure.
accumulating things, building, getting focused on money.
Right.
And the older you get, you realize, at least I've worked with several people, at the end of your life, you don't get to take that with you.
Right.
You may be able to leave that with family members or
Mhm.
whatever the end goal might be. But truth of the matter is that those things don't bring you happiness and they
Right.
don't bring you joy. And, it isn't life sustaining in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. But the richest people I know have the least.
Right.
And so, and they have their health.
Yeah.
Um, and they wake up and they feel good and they're
Yeah.
active and they can go and, see people and do
Mhm.
things, and they don't have to live, nobody has to live lavishly to live a good life.
Right.
And so it's the investments that you're making in your health should be your absolute number one priority.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that you take with you always,
Right.
always.
Yeah.
It's like your breath when you wake
Yeah.
up. And so you should be making investments in your health every single day and adding years to your life in the
Right.
future. And
Yep.
so,
Yep.
it's not the things, and those
Yeah.
depreciate. They mean nothing. At the end
Right.
of life, usually people are trying to get rid of them and downscale, and it's too much. I
Yep.
can't take care of this anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they're doing away with the things that they worked so hard to earn, and sacrificing their health in the process
Yeah.
was not the outcome or the output that anybody anticipated. And that's the sacrifice people make, though.
Yeah.
And in the end, it will cost you. It will
Yep.
cost you in moving.
Right.
movement, right? And all
Yep.
these things, pain. And
Hmm.
you really want to invest in that because that is real where your real wealth, where your real richness comes from later on down the road, today
Yeah.
and later in your future.
Right. Well, and it's, one of the things that I tell people is like, okay, all those things are great,
Yeah.
but the experience is so much more,
Yes.
right? Like being able to go do so, because the last thing that I think anybody is striving for, and if you really broke it down and asked them, like, okay, are
Yes.
you working so hard so that you can retire and then be stuck in your house because your
Yeah.
body's in such bad shape you can't go anywhere? And then
Who
they're like,
wants to
well,
do that?
nobody wants to
Yeah.
do that.
No.
Or that you can't get on a plane and go see somebody, or you're working so hard to get all the money to be able to go to Europe, and but you can't do it because you're physically not able to. Like, nobody
Yes.
wants to do that,
No, no,
you
but
know?
that not realizing that that's really the interchange, right? That's what
Right,
you've exchanged for,
right,
though. And um, I think a lot of us take life for granted. You never know when it's going to end.
right,
We think we do,
yeah,
and how it's going to, what the end will look like. But the truth
yeah,
of the matter is that could be totally different in
hmm,
the next second, the next
yeah,
moment. And so that's also the importance of really appreciating what's going on in your environment, in your life today, and
right,
being presently grounded
yeah,
and not taking time for granted, right?
yeah,
Not taking that someday this is going to happen because someday may never come.
right,
And if you want to take that trip, take that trip. If
yep,
you want to, spend time with your family, spend time with your family
hmm,
because someday may never come.
right,
And you don't want to exchange that for someday.
right,
It's like if you went to the bank and and you wanted to pull out some money and the bank was like, well, someday we'll give it to you. I mean, like,
yeah,
I don't think so. You
right,
want to take advantage of it today, is
yep,
my point. And you want to
yep,
make the right investments today so that you can continue to have your best life in your future as
right,
well. You're not
right,
trading it
yeah,
for suffering
yep,
or, the possibility that you may get it at some point
right.
because it's not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed.
Oh no, not at all. But you can always make more money,
Yes.
right? There's always opportunities
Yes.
to do that. And so, that's one of the other things, like, okay, you can always make more money, but you you can't always get back the time that you had. You can't There's not everything in a health standpoint is reversible. A lot of
Right.
things are, but not
Right.
everything is.
No.
And so when you let it go and
Yes.
and lose that, it's like, and just hearing you know, oh well, I hit 40 and so everything's supposed to start breaking down, or I hit 50 and this is supposed to happen. And all this, and I know part of that is if you go to the doctor for your annual checkup and they're like, okay, you're 50. Now we have to check for this, this, and this, because this is when these things start to show up. And in your head, you start
Yes.
going like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to break down. No, it's like, that's just markers
Yes.
they're trying to get, but that doesn't have to be the way it is for
That's
you.
right. And that's more about preventative care, right? We're going to
Sure.
start checking for this just because we see the onset starts to happen,
Right.
for individuals during this time frame, right?
Right.
And so obviously when you're 4, we're not worried about it. When you're 40,
Right.
it's a little bit different. You got 40
Yeah.
years under your belt here,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of exposure to things. And so
Mhm.
that's just about being preventive. It's
Right.
not a diagnosis or like a doom that this
Right.
is
Yep.
coming to your life.
Yep.
Um, and so, it's just helping people understand that. But you're right. I think that the reality is it's like you blink your eyes and all of a sudden you're 40 or 50 and you're like, where did half my life go?
Right.
I had endless amounts of time just a
Yep.
little bit ago. And you blink your eyes again. And that's just truly the older you get, the faster time goes. And so
Right.
it's really, really important to value and put your investments in the right things.
Yep.
Because it is like a flash in the pan almost, you
Right.
raise kids and you learn that really quick. Oh,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You do. Well, and it's funny because one of the things so I was a huge fan of How I Met Your Mother when it was on
yes.
TV, and my daughter's 16 and she's watching it now through Netflix. And so it's funny because this sort of fits into the conversation. So for people that haven't seen it, One of the characters, they did a flash forward to
Yes.
like, 30 or 40 years down the road, and they had written letters to each other. He and his, wife written letters to each other saying, open this when I pass away, and here's, what I want you to know, and that kind of thing. And he opened his letter up and he's reading it, and it's like, I thought you would open this up before I passed away. You're cheated. You
I
da
know.
da da, right? And so she comes in and like they have an argument or whatever, and then she leaves, and he's like, well, you didn't even like put any pictures in there. I wanted some dirty pictures. And she
Yeah.
was like, well, okay, I'll go take some dirty pictures. And he, under his breath, is like, well, I don't want them now. Right. He wanted them 30 years ago. Like, that's what, like, how many of
Yes.
us get to a point,
Yes.
when we're 45, 50, and I'm 51. So I can't speak about beyond this, but I know people that are beyond this that are like, I wish I was still 30, or I wish I was still, because I would
Sure.
go back and do something differently.
Absolutely. Or
Mhm.
make a different choice. And
Right.
so, and that's reflection. That's
Yep.
beautiful. And really,
Yep.
what you can do with that is pass that knowledge along to somebody
Right.
that is 30 or 20,
Yep.
right? You want to make
Yep.
those investments. Listen, learn from me.
Right.
I can't go backwards. I can't get that back. But you're right. There's a lot of choices that I would have made differently if I had the knowledge
Yeah.
and the experience that I have today. And
Yep.
so, we try and impart those on others, so that they don't, lose out on, or maybe
Right.
make the same mistake. Now, whether they take it or not, great.
Sure.
But that's really the goal, or what you're trying to do, to help them maybe be more successful, right?
Right.
To have better outcomes, to,
Yeah.
think of it differently. Let me reframe this for you. When I was your age, and you'll often hear, if I could only go back. Well, sure, because we had more energy. We
Yep.
were, we were in our prime in a lot of
Yep.
ways. And so, and that makes sense. And so, of course, we'd make those choices a little bit different. But with the goal being is that they don't have to make those same mistakes. They can
Right.
do it, and we can continue to show them the way today with our
Yeah.
choices and what we're doing and the
Right.
investments that we're making, right?
Right.
And boy, if I had this game 20 years ago, I'd be,
Oh, right.
so
Yep.
much further ahead of the game, right?
Yep.
But that's okay. That's just part
Yeah.
of life's journey as well. And so
Yeah.
none of us have it all figured out,
Right.
even, I can't remember, but, certainly when I was 21, I think I knew it all and I didn't know anything. Right. And so
Yeah.
that's just also part of living and learning. And, you think you've got the world mastered, and the world's like, I'm going to show you something here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's okay. And so anyway, we can help others avoid those pitfalls, or maybe, get ahead a little bit further
Yeah.
than we were at that age. And then the
Yeah.
benefit for them is going to be in 20 years when they're sitting here having this conversation, they're going to be like, listen to this choice I made when I was 30 that made
Mhm.
all the difference in my life. Right.
Yeah.
Versus when I was 40 or 50.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think one of the biggest things again, learning from our past, having a
Yes.
mentor, having somebody
Yes.
that like, and we should have multiple mentors depending on like what part of life we're focusing on
Yeah.
with this person or that person, because everybody's got something different that they can give us, right?
Yes.
And I think the big thing is understanding that there's so many things that are possible,
Yes.
right? If we
Don't
just
we're all
like,
limitless. And
yeah.
the good and the bad mentors, those bad ones are just as valuable. I
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily call them mentors, but I think it's important to observe and
Yeah.
watch, because they're
Yeah.
getting the very thing that you don't want. And why
Right.
is that? Right.
Yeah.
And so they should be studied in some
Mhm.
way so that you can learn, listen, this isn't what I want to do.
Right.
And, often we learn that in experience, doing something ourselves and then going, oh, we didn't want this outcome. This
Right.
isn't what we were setting out to do.
Yeah.
And so, but there's others that have already made those mistakes,
Mhm.
and, they're just as valuable.
Yeah.
And so why would that be?
Yeah.
And, you don't have to repeat that pattern
Right.
or, follow in those footsteps. And there's other people that are making choices that do have what you want. And those people are really, really who you should be spending time with, or,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how can I be like them? What
Right.
is it that they do differently?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
implement those things in your life.
Yeah. No, and it's one of my clients, I think, fits that scenario perfectly, because she came to me I think it was like 3 months ago, and her doctor had said, "Oh, well, okay, you want to lose some weight? Go on
Yes.
this, take this. It'll help you lose
Sure.
weight, right? It'll do it." And she was like, "Okay." I mean, and then I think she was on it like 4 months, goes back for a checkup, and like the doctor's like, "Oh, well, okay, well, now you have osteopenia, and now you
Yeah.
have this." And she was like, "What?" And of course, she starts researching it because she trusted him. Starts
Yes.
researching it and finding that, like, oh, that's a side effect, is like these things.
Absolutely.
And she was like, "Okay, I'm stopping that." She contacted me,
Yes.
and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like you're so much more in line with what I know should be
Yes.
happening. Like, I know these things, right?
Yes.
The drug is, and I'm not, the pharmaceuticals are, they have their place,
Yes.
right? Um, but shortcuts never get us what we want,
Never. Never.
right?
In mental health, they want to prescribe, medication. And so
Mhm.
this is going to help you with your anxiety. This will help you with your depression.
Right,
Um, And really, the goal of that is to reduce the suffering or whatever those things that you're feeling, but to help you work on and work towards um, doing that on your own. It's
right,
not for you to permanently continue for your remaining days, right?
right.
And it's not a quick fix. It's not
Yeah,
going to make this go away
yeah,
by any means. And so, it takes a lot of patience and practice. It's a skill. And
yeah,
all of these things are skills, right?
right.
Having a good diet and taking good care of yourself and investing in your health, those are skills. Those aren't
Yeah,
something that just naturally happen.
yeah,
And medication isn't going to quickly. It's not going to be the answer to all of those things. It's going
right.
to help a little bit, but you're going to have to implement skills and lifestyle changes
Mhm.
to sustain that over time with the goal,
Right,
hopefully, to get off of it if you can. You're
right,
not supposed to stay on this stuff,
right. Yeah,
truthfully.
yeah. There's it, and it should be like, okay, here's the stopgap. Here's the, like,
Yes.
the fire trucks coming in to take care and save the
Yeah.
day, and then but they're gonna leave. They're hopefully gonna leave,
Yes.
right? And then
Yeah.
you've got to be able to, yeah, do it on your own again.
Yes.
Um, and so it's providing that a little bit of extra support to help you get moving in the right
Two.
direction.
That's it. It's not, meant to be a permanent fixture in your life.
Right.
And so, I equate it to when you have a headache and you take an
Mhm.
Advil or, a Tylenol, and that's going to help with the symptoms. You're probably going to get another headache down the road,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
you're not going to take that every day to prevent that from
Right.
happening. Really, you have to make some changes, more water, exercise, whatever those things are. So,
Yeah.
and the reason why I brought that up is I was having migraines when COVID, when I was working, and it was just a stressful time, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh, and wanted to give me this migraine medicine, multiple." And really, what he ended up prescribing me was serotonin syndrome. And I looked at him; he was my primary care physician, and I said, "Do you realize that you just prescribed me serotonin syndrome?" And he was like shocked at that
Yeah.
point, like stunned, and
Yeah.
because he wanted to give me this cocktail of medicine for something that really I could manage on my own, right?
Right.
With some changes,
Yeah.
certainly. And so we started talking about balance at that point. I didn't pick up any of that medicine, and I'm not
Right.
discouraging people from taking medicine if that is needed for them. But
Yeah.
really, what it's about is something you're out of alignment. A lot
Mhm.
of times when people are having health outcomes, negative health outcomes, whatever those things are, might be, it's because your mind, body, soul is not in alignment. There's
Yeah.
no balance. Something is whacked out of balance, right? And
Yeah.
so a lot of our conversations, even in coaching, is listen, how do we maintain and achieve balance here, right? You're either spending too much time on social media, or you're spending too much time having fun and you're not working, or that's not balance, right? Or
Right.
you're eating nothing but sugar and carbohydrates. How are you going to lose weight, right? And
Right.
so it's understanding that everything in life is about energy, balance, and
Mhm.
movement.
Yeah.
And how do you work that into a schedule? How do you work that into a lifestyle that makes sense for you, that brings you outcomes that are rewarding and satisfying, that you're looking
Right.
for,
Yeah.
not the opposite?
Right.
And so, anyway, I think that that's incredibly valuable. That people understand medication it isn't supposed to stay with you for a lifetime.
Right.
Those things are to help you get to where you want to go. And then you learn the skills to be able to maintain that without utilizing those things.
Right.
In your day-to-day life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's again looking forward, right? That's again
Yes.
like what do I want my life to be in? And we probably, I don't know if they still do this because I haven't been on an interview for a job in forever, but when I was first out of college, the question that everybody asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Right. And
oh, yeah.
No idea when you're 22, 25 years old.
Richer.
Right. Like I had no idea. Like in reality, but that's what we need to like look at. It's like, okay, what if I keep going the way I'm going and it's not in a healthy direction, what do I expect is going to happen in 5 or 10 years?
Exactly.
I'm going to have the same complaints or more.
You got it. And really, you're going to be really unhappy because all you've done is complained that entire duration of time. And usually the people around you are either also complaining, right? And so, your network isn't very positive. And so, you're in the negative. You're in the, you're negative sum at this point. And so at any point you can make a decision. Listen, that's not what I want for myself. I don't want to talk about people and I don't want to sit at tables that bring negativity and toxicity and relationships and environments. And a lot of times that can be in your own work environment. And if that's the case, you have all the power in the world to change it. You don't have to participate in that, right? Yeah. You can change jobs. You can decide to do something different with your life at any point. So you're never stuck. And I think people oftentimes do feel that way. And really you're in your own way again. And you can make changes, positive changes that bring positive outputs in your life. And so you don't have to continue entertaining those things that don't bring you long-lasting joy or satisfaction. They're taking away from it, and you're allowing that because your energy is going towards that.
But that could be scary, right?
Yeah.
Those changes?
Absolutely.
Especially if it's like years that you've like put up with it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times what's the scariest for a lot of people is when it's your own family and like you're like, well, these are my people and this is my family and I have to be a part of this. And I'm like, no, you absolutely do not have to do that. You can make a decision that's good for yourself not everybody's family is healthy. And that doesn't mean that you have to stay with them because they're part of your bloodline or, entertain that. And so, it is, change is really scary. The devil, is better than the devil you don't know. You don't know where that's going to take you. But what you do know is that you're not happy and that this isn't satisfying. And if you don't make changes, this isn't going to get better. And so, when we started the conversation, like what areas in your life are not fulfilling, that are lacking, right? That you feel like you need to make changes in. And then what's preventing you from making those changes? Why aren't you moving forward in that direction? And so sometimes it's fear. I've never done it before. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. And I say, well, you learn to run. You learn to walk, right? You didn't think about that very long and you kept moving. And so, it comes down to our own roadblocks, what we're putting up in our own way versus really what's possible. And, you at any point can change that. And nothing's more permanent than change. And so, every day it's changing. You have to learn to adapt with it. That's the key.
And you have to know that there's going to be people that are going to tell you it's not possible.
Oh, surrounded by people.
And they could be your people. They could be your people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, Walt Disney, Beyonce, anybody that's been great, in this lifetime, I'm sure had people that said that's not possible or that's crazy or, you are delusional, even whatever those things are. And the truth of the matter is that no, that, they were anointed. They actually had a calling and they were pursuing that and they served that purpose. Right. And I think that we all have that. We've been brought here to serve and impact others and hopefully in a really positive way. And to see things that others maybe can't see are possible. That's a
Yeah.
visionary, and any visionary I've ever known and in our past, right, has
Hmm.
all kinds of people have said, no, that's not possible because they didn't have the vision. Why would they
Right.
think that it's possible? They
Yeah.
weren't the one that was provided that. So,
Yep.
um, you can either listen to them and go, yeah, okay, it's not, and then settle for, something that you really don't want, or you can keep pursuing the very thing that,
Right.
was put on your heart. And
Yeah.
so, it's better to dare greatly than not to try at all. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think, being passionate about something, if you really are, and you're meant to serve that purpose, nothing's going to stop you. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who tells you what. They
Right.
can go talk to somebody else about that. That's what I would
Mhm.
say.
Right.
Somebody else will talk to you about how it's not possible. Go talk to them, right?
Yep.
I got better things to do. I
Yep.
really do. And so,
Yep.
I think that that's the key is like learn to who you trust and to listen to and who not
Yeah.
to. And if somebody's trying to deter you from your purpose or your dreams, those aren't your people. Those
Yeah.
aren't your people. That's
Right.
great. And I'm really glad that we had this opportunity, but you got to keep it moving. You
Yep.
just got to keep moving. That's the key to it.
Yep. So I saw this thing, it was earlier this week, a clip, it was like a motivational, keep going type
Yes.
of clip, but it was on George Lucas and Star Wars.
Yes.
And I think it was because the first one came out in 77. So it was like 1973 or 74. And he had the concept and he had everything. He got turned down by 7 studios.
Yes.
And it was finally one of the studios that turned him down that finally came around and was like, okay, we'll
We'll
give you a
give you a
really
try.
small budget. We'll give you a
I
really
know.
small budget. Really, like, here's the parameters. Like, you better not go over all this stuff. And it's like,
Yes,
I mean, how many, like, billions, right? Like,
exactly. And
you
how
know,
many times have people, the most successful people I know have failed so many
yep,
times, right?
yep,
From trying. And
yep,
certainly any entrepreneur has. I've
yeah,
never known anybody that started off and was just like, had it
mhm,
down, you fail and you fail and you make
yep,
mistakes and you fail some more.
yep,
Um, And so, but it doesn't stop you. That's the
right,
key to it is that you keep trying, you keep
yeah,
at it. And then, eventually you may get that one person that gives you a chance. And you're right. That one person that did that. And then all of a sudden that made that open that opportunity, that door for you. And now all of a
yep,
sudden, you're pulling in billions and millions. And
yep,
so, they were put in your life for a purpose. And
right,
so, and that's the amazing thing about it. And so, yeah, most successful people have failed more than they've succeeded,
yep,
certainly initially. And
oh
then,
yeah,
later on in life, nobody's going to stop them after
yep,
they.
yep, yeah. Once you figure out that you're strong enough to be able to do it,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the reasons why I know that's one of the reasons why so many people set healthy New Year's
Yes.
resolutions and
Yes.
fail within the first 2 or 3 weeks
Yes.
because they put this goal out there that's probably
Yeah.
too big to start and try to make massive changes in one day,
Right.
right? Like, why does it have to be January 1st? If you want to make health changes, just
Do it
start, like you
today.
said, with small little things
That's
and
it.
start changing your life. And then know that, guess what? Somebody's going to come along and offer you something that's not
Yes.
on your, ideal nutrition plan, or you're going to go a day where something happens and you don't get to exercise, you don't get to do what you
You
wanted,
got it.
and it doesn't derail the whole thing.
Not a bit. And,
No.
only if you allow it to, right?
Right.
Only if you say, oh, that's it, I give up. And so,
Yep.
you can't fail if you keep working at something. And so,
Right.
and everybody's pace is different and life happens. And there's certainly going to be days that you're not going to be able to work on it or, whatever the circumstances might be. And you have to be adaptable to that and know that it's okay,
Yeah.
that you'll pick it back up. It's
Right.
not a life sentence, it's
Yeah.
not a fail and that's it, it's
Mhm.
over. And the same with your New Year's resolution. So you start off and in 2 weeks you broke it and you're not on the same track. That's fine. It wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
So reflect. And then what are some sustainable daily goals that you can work towards? So at the end of this year, you are
Yeah.
going to achieve exactly what you set out to do. It
Right.
may take a little bit longer. It doesn't mean that you failed,
Yeah.
on your path necessarily. So It's about consistency and staying disciplined and moving, continuing to make that movement, even though maybe it's just not as quickly, or, the reward isn't here as quickly as any of us want it to be ever.
Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's why you keep working at something, whether it's a great relationship and, an ultimate marriage or whatever those things are. Certainly we do get lucky in life, but really it's mostly about hard work and discipline and consistency. And when you do those things, whether it's your health, whatever those things are in your life, you will be successful. You just have to keep moving, keep maintaining and cracking at it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that piece that you mentioned earlier about like staying in today.
Yes.
Right. And like the past is the past, the future, we're trying to get there, but like, you've only got today. Stay in today's moment. That's it.
That's it. You've only got right now. And so what do you want to do with this time right now? I want to talk to Jerry. I want to be able to go on a walk and, and eat something healthy for dinner. And, you can make those choices, and those choices will continue to move forward, right? And other things and other avenues in your life. And so you do have today, and focus on that. Yeah. And if you start to get upset, do some breath work, get grounded, meditate, do something that takes you away from that so that you feel better about, when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to be back on it again. So, it's learning to be able to navigate that and not go off your path into some other direction or to give up.
Right. So what's the best way for someone who this has struck a chord with and is like, I want to talk to Erin more about like what she's doing and how to get some help from her? How do they get in touch with you?
So my email is EOSB as in boy, ORN 68 at gmail.com. And the 68 represents nothing. That was something Gmail put together. Like people are like, what's that mean? Nothing. It means nothing. Yeah. I also own Pursue Your Passions, and I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and social media, YouTube. And so they can reach out to me. They can DM me. I'm out there. And so if anybody ever wants to connect, I love meeting new people and talking to them and working with them on their goals. And so those are the best ways right now.
Cool. Awesome.
I'm eventually going to get I have a website, but it needs to be updated. And so I'm working on that. And by the new year, it should be done, or it should be moving in that direction. And so then I'll have another avenue on as well.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, fabulous conversation. I enjoyed it.
I loved
tremendously.
it. I did too. And thank you for sharing, your story. I just feel honored that you shared that with all of us. And I think, for me, I have my own stories similar to that, and it was very touching, and it brought me comfort. And so thank you for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for checking out the Confidence Through Health podcast. Please subscribe, post a review, share this episode with those you love who need a little extra help with their health journey. Visit allinhealthandwellness.com to learn more about the coaching programs that I provide. All episodes are produced by the Social Media Cowboys, your source for all online marketing needs. Go to socialmediacowboys.com for more information.